right. Really appreciate each and every last one of you all. Thank you all for tuning in to the Nation. My name is Law Nation. That's LAW Nation. As we proceed to talk a little bit about this thing called Dak Prescott, there's a lot of things that's on our mind as it relates to contract talk, as it relates to like just player evaluation in general. A lot of people think that especially with the silver and blue, that we're supposed to win the Super Bowl every year. But to be honest with you guys, it's more to it than winning the Super Bowl every year. It's more to it than win 10 plus games every year. That's the thing that we would like to have out there. It's the thing that we would like to see. But the reality of it is that it rarely happens, guys. It rarely happens. And when it does, hey, it's a blessing, right? It's something that we can look back on and say to ourselves, man, what would be a nice situation for us to get to that point, especially in our particular situation as relates to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, talking about these things, let me know if you guys can hear. Let me know if you guys can hear me, see me, and things like that. Give me a thumbs up or what have you, so that we can continue this process out. Like to thank you guys for being part of this thing. 30 million. Big is now saying that no, it's more so 25. I feel you on that. Let me bear through this technical difficulty. So yeah, when you appreciate you guys, it's worth the grain of salt talking about win-loss columns, right? Is it worth that? Because we look at those parameters, we look at those things when we start talking about Dakota Rain Prescott, when we start talking about can he win the games when it counts. Now, your boy Jerry Jones, the billionaire, the guy that makes the decision as it relates to financially for this Cowboys team, he feeling like, hey, Jerry Jones is feeling like, hey, this guy's worth the grain of salt. Yeah, I finally got the green arrow. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, man. Pay Dak, loud and clear. Jamal says that. Okay, yeah. What about Jimmy Garoppolo? He played 2 or 3 games, and they thought that he was worth every cent that the 49ers paid him. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? Yes, indeed, man. Shout out to you, Antoine. Thank you for making a donation to help grow the nation, man. Really do appreciate it, man. Guys, we continue to grind and grow this thing. But let's listen in to what my guy, Michael Irvin, he was talking to Jerry Jones about this topic. He was saying that, okay, is he really worth it? And Jerry Jones pretty much broke it down saying, hey, he's worth every penny. And we'll break that down. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you all for being part of the nation. Shout out to you, Marcus, man. Appreciate you for tuning in. Let's go back to this thing over here. All right, so as we move over here, we're going to listen in to Michael Irvin talk to one of the greatest owners of all time, right? We're going to listen to him talk about this. Let's listen.
To trying to lock up Dak Prescott for the long term?
Oh, I think that we're sold on Dak, and we do want to have him for the long term. We think he's worthy of investing in for the long term. He's going into his 4th year now in the NFL. When you look at the snaps he's had, when you look at the situations he's been in,
so
you look at, first of all, how he got here.
So he's talking about when you look into the situation, when you look into the aspect of what Jerry Jones is saying about Dak Prescott, if you look at everything, not just one game by game, but the total body of work, you'll see that he's worth the grain of salt that the guy's willing to get paid. Let's listen. Appreciate you, Falcon, on the gram. As well as
and then you see really how he has performed, but you also we see real upside in Dak. You don't have it all yet, and we love the way that he. I'm going to use the word logically progresses through a game. You see him when going gets tough, or you see when he's got to come from behind, when he kind of turns it loose a little bit. You see him make those plays.
Yeah.
All of those things embolden me to make a deal with him that puts him here with the Cowboys for the long term.
For more of the Rich Eisen Show,
indeed.
tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live.
Check
or
that out
download the
on
Rich Eisen Show app.
He got a whole entire app over there. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to this thing. As we begin to break that down, really appreciate you guys. So pretty much what he was saying out of this whole deal is that he won us games, and then he also won games when he was able to come back from behind. So he bring in all of those elements to the table. Now, in 2015, we was all crying and begging and saying, God, please give us a quarterback, any quarterback. Give us somebody that we can put into the mix that can win us games, because we got an offensive line. At that point, we had a multiple running back set up where we were still saying that, hey, put anybody behind that offensive line and they'll give you some positive yards. And then the following year, we said, okay, let's just go ahead and get Ezekiel Elliott, because he's just transcending. He's a different type of element as it relates to like just overall skill set. And on top of that, he can help out Tony Romo by handing the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott, and then these things can happen. But the problem is that Romo folded up like a pretzel. The guy just couldn't stay healthy. That's just the reality of it. So we went back into our minds and said, okay, all right, what about Kellen Moore? He folded up. Didn't even make it out of practice, so didn't even make it out of the training camp. I think they were still in Oxnard when it happened. Then they said, okay, what about this other kid? What about this other guy? Then there was the old guy that wears number 4, Dakota Rain Prescott. Haven't missed a game since then. So if you're healthy, you're wealthy, right? So also with football, if you have the ability to stay healthy, then you have the ability to still play. It's like winning. Yeah, Sheila Neal said it's like winning. Yeah, I mean you win, and you win, and then now you get a chance to get paid. Now the 49ers, they paid Garoppolo what, $28 million, and that kid haven't even played a full season yet. They are still hoping that they can figure out a way that he can continue to play at a I guess a great level if he can play 16 weeks, but the guy can't stay healthy. We look at the Carson Wentz. I know a lot of Eagles fans are going to say, hey, he took us to the Super Bowl. He took us to this and he took us to there. But when the Eagles really look at it, if they really study the game in 2017, they was more of a run, Eagles run. 3rd overall in rushing. Of course, Carson had a great Pro Bowl / MVP type of year, but they was running the rock more so than anything. And I always tell people the best friend to any quarterback is a tight end. And they have a nice plethora of tight ends on their teams. So if you even look at the LA Rams, let me know. If their defense is not solid, let me know. They got a guy that you can put it into the inside and flex to the outside, number 99. And then they said, okay, we're going to reach into our pockets. We're going to pay this guy $14 million, Ndamukong Suh, to help out as well on the defense. And then they have some creativity with the coaching staff to get the ball out quick, and it was a different story. But I'm not saying that both of those boys are trash and horrible. But these are first-round talent quarterbacks. And you got Dak Prescott in the same talk tracks of those guys. So my thing is all together, when you really look at it, how can you fix your mouth to say, okay, Dak Prescott is only worth $20 million? Or if you're the quote-unquote agent of Dak Prescott, how can Jerry Jones sell to him saying that, okay, Dak Prescott deserves 25? When you start comparing the stats and you start looking at the numbers and you start looking at the win games, there's only one other quarterback that got more wins than Dak Prescott, and his name is Tom Brady. Have you heard of him? So that's just how this thing goes, Cowboy Nation. I'm going to try to put the call-in number up top of the screen there. Feel free to call in to give me your thoughts, give me your opinions while we live like 95. Maybe you can change my mind as it relates to the Dallas Cowboys. The other thing is, Cowboy Nation, we growing, baby. Sponsors are helping us out, being in front of the face of the players that play for the Cowboys, also the coaching staff and beyond. I have to mention this Cowboys Experience, guys. The game is getting closer and closer to week 1, and I would love to see y'all beautiful faces out there. Cowboys Experience, as you guys can see, Media Road. These are all of the people that's part of this thing. Of course, Silver and Blue Nation, Big Game James, DC Scouter. You see the Doski Woskis and the Peasky Whiskies out there. Botch Lombardi, who brings the party. Phantom, Joe Boo, DP, Dallas Prospect. Every legend was once a prospect, as well as my logo there. And you can check out our content on that particular website as well. So I would love for you guys to check out cowboysexperience.com. It's in the description box. Just hit us up, man, and let them know that this nation is strong. It is. It's a strong nation. We all together. We tight like that, like families. we don't always agree with one another. And Ari Timpkin as well. He's in this mix. We always don't agree with one another, but just like life, just like family members. Somebody auntie think that they make the best spaghetti, right? And hey, it may be good for her. It may be good for other people in the family, but everybody know that everybody auntie can't make the best. It's somebody that's better than the other one, right? And some people will love it and some people don't. You know, that's how it goes, man. That's how I have to tell you guys. It's just the real deal, Holyfield. So when we start talking about Dak Prescott's salary and we start talking about what he can bring to the table, I'm looking at this 2019 team as a 10-plus win team. I'm thinking that we can get there. I believe deep down in my heart, soul, and sinew of my mind that we can get there. I really do. I really think that we can get there if we put our collective thoughts together. Derek Savage said we can't compare Dak to Tom. No. Well, from a stat-wise, you can. You can look up the stats of Dak Prescott and Tom Brady, and I pulled those things up, and I was like, well, they're right on par, just a par. Now, as far as coaching style, if you really would tell me, would you rather have, put it like this, Cowboy Nation, and I'm going to ask you guys a question, for those that's in the chat box especially. Would you rather have Bill Belichick and Dak Prescott, or would you rather have Jason Garrett and Tom Brady? So you mean to tell me if Tom Brady was on this team, we would win 5 Super Bowls if Jason Garrett was coaching Tom Brady? Let me know. Put that down in the comment box. Let me know if we could just substitute, not looking at the players that's on this team. I'm just talking about just these 2 situations. You move Bill Belichick, and of course you got to kick your boy Jerry Jones out of the equation. But you mean to tell me you think that Tom Brady, you think that with Tom Brady, the Dallas Cowboys would have won 6 Super Bowls if Jason Garrett was coaching this team? Or do you think that somehow, one way or another, that Bill Belichick would have won still 6 Super Bowls with Dak Prescott? I'm waiting. Let me know. Yes, let me know. If we can pull up the stats, we can line them up side by side. Yes, Money Making Mall said, I'll take Brady. Eli shell of himself. Yeah, stop it. Yeah. Bill and Dak. Somebody said Eric Lees is in Bill and Dak. Bill Belichick is a different type of coach. And I'm not trying to, look, Jason Garrett's a wonderful man, brilliant guy, smart, intellectual guy. I can give you one of the speeches that make you stand up and say, hey, I'm going to get out of my seat. Boy, this boy is just, he got that type of fire in him. But as far as X's and O's on Sunday is a whole nother story. It's a whole nother story, guys. Famous is Bill or Tom debate. Yeah, so my thing is what Bill Belichick got on his resume is that he was still able to win 11 games, I think, with Matt Castle. I don't think that we can win 11 games with our collective roster with a Matt Castle. I think it was 11-5 or something like that. They went one year. Yes, Brady over Dak. Seriously. Well, but see, this is the thing. When you start comparing a person that's at the tail end of their career opposed to somebody who just started their career, of course, you're going to always naturally say to yourself, I'm going to pick the person with the tail end of their career because you already seen what they was able to produce from. But if you start looking at just game by game, play by play, then you'll say, man, it's similar. If you just to take the future or you take the past out of it. But I understand. Yes, misscouting your emotions. I'm glad you're sticking around the options. Well, I don't know. I can't read all of the comments there, but I feel what you guys are rapping with as far as emotions and things like that. Let me see if I can pull this up. He says, okay, y'all going back and forth. Well, Antoine Myers, he says, yeah, y'all going back and forth on some things. It is what it is at this point, Cowboy Nation. We tend to look around and we tend to talk about these things. Law Nation Belichick has a 70% win rate without Tom Brady. Yeah, and 70% is a good win rate, but he been there forever, right? I mean, they've been together like two peas in a pod since 2000 and 2001 almost. So that's a long time, man. That's a long time to be with somebody. That is a long time. Let me ask you this, Law. Do you think that could get that on the open market? Man, there's teams out here that got salary cap that they would reach out to the wazoos to pay for a quarterback that can win them 10 plus games. Remember, Dallas Cowboys, we are spoiled in a sense because we have the Tony Romo's highlights in our mind. We have the Troy Aikman highlights in our mind. We even have the Danny White highlights in our mind. The Roger Staubachs. Not every franchise got those type of longitude and latitudes that they can go back on as it relates to like coaching and other philosophies and things like that, or player skill set. Not everybody have those type of philosophies there. So it's just one of those things where as Cowboy Nation, we tend to I guess compare the newer kid worse than we compare the older kids that have been on the block, basically. And that's just how it goes, Cowboy Nation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Dak Prescott's stats versus Tom Brady first 3 years. And for Tom Brady, since he sat on the bench his first year, I'm going to pull up Tom Brady's first 4 years opposed to Dak Prescott's first 3 because Dak have yet to play within his first 4 years yet. So we're going to pull that up. And as you guys can see right here, here's the chart right here. I'm going to hit go. And you guys can do the same thing. ProFootballReference.com, and you can see with your natural eyes what I'm talking about. And basically, mirroring each player, you'll see the same results basically as soon as the screen pull up. Man, I really appreciate you guys. Let me jump back over here as we begin to get this thing all set up for you all. Cowboy Nation, just remember this team is still young, man. We got a long way to go. And speaking of long ways to go, all it's going to take is just one day at a time, one movement at a time. Let me know if you guys can see this on your screen there. We're going to go from a per game basis, basically. And on a per game basis, Tom Brady was throwing for 213 yards a game. And I can only hear the Cowboys fans said, hey, he's not throwing over 200 yards, man. He's barely getting over 200 yards. He's not moving the ball down the field. And then on top of that, if you start to look at the other things too, the touchdowns, they pretty much similar. The sacks, they was pretty much taking the same amount of sacks. And then if you're talking about the rushing attempts, of course, Dak Prescott leads in that category. And if you're talking about completion percentage, Dak Prescott is on top of that, as well as yards. You guys can see Dak Prescott is on top of that. I don't want to hear people cry saying, hey, what about the amount of games? They both played 48 games. So that's the same thing. Now, if you start looking at rate, that's passing the ball with accuracy and proficiency. I don't know about you, but 96 is higher than 85.9. in my books. So you're getting that too. So these facts, these numbers, these ain't opinions. These are real facts right here. And if you start talking about touchdowns, oh, Tom Brady threw 69 touchdowns. Yes, which is cool. And I like that aspect of it. And then, of course, he had 2 over here rushing. But when you start to talk about it, 18 touchdowns, you can't take that off the table. You just can't, Cowboy Nation. You can't take 944 yards off the table if you're just looking at per game basis as well as quarterback play. Now, I do know a lot of people going to say, well, hold on, Law. You padding the stats because the footballs were different during those time frames. They're allowed to chuck. They're allowed to redirect. They're allowed to push the opposition down the field and things like that. Well, if we're going to set up parameters for everybody's stats, then we ought to just take stats and throw them out the roof. Just throw them off, not out the window, climb all the way on top of the roof and just throw them away. So it's just like this, Cowboy Nation. It is what it is. Just imagine Brady with this defense. Good Lord. Money making all. I don't know. Because if you really look at my brother from another mother, Bill Belichick, he's a defensive-minded guy. I want you guys to look up Tom Brady's defenses throughout the course of his years of playing in the National Football League. I guarantee you're going to see a defense that's solid. It don't always have to be top 10. It don't have to always be top 15. But you always see them getting turnovers, takeaways, flying out to the ball, and playing sound, disciplined defense. Now, as far as the Dallas Cowboys, we don't get takeaways. We don't get those turnovers. And let's go back to this, too. A lot of people say different error law, and they bring up these type of things. Okay, we're going to jump back, and we're going to type in somebody else's name that everybody is familiar with. We're going to type in old Russell Wilson. You guys know how this thing go, right? We're going to type in old Russ. We're going to type in Russell Wilson's information for the nation, and we'll see where he stood at, too. And we're going to have to really look at this thing, man. We did this before on several occasions. We did this before talking about how Dak Prescott is able to be in the same, arenas as these other guys, but he's been measured and called out differently. And especially when you start talking about winning and losing of games, those are things that people fail to realize, too. I mean, if you can win games, that's what it's all about, right? But let's look at the first 3 years of Russell Wilson. Let's get results. We're going to type that in, and that's so we can be in the same era per se, and we can see something similar of what those two guys were able to bring to their collective team. Anyone says Zeke makes Dak is naive. I mean, this is my whole argument with the running back help out the quarterback. I mean, Edgerrin James was there for Peyton. Corey Dillon was there for Tom Brady. Emmitt Smith was there for Troy. I mean, Joe Montana had a slew of guys that was there for him. So, and of course, he got there without him. But this is the other argument, too, when they say, well, Dak Prescott needs a team around him. I mean, who is Jerry Rice? who is Roger Craig and all those boys for Joe? I mean, who is Bill Walsh, man? Who is the George Seifert? Who's all those guys? You know, who is with Troy Aikman? Who's Jay Novacek? Who is Michael Irvin? You see, when we start talking about the Peyton Mannings of the world, who is Marvin Harrison? Who is Reggie Wayne? I mean, we can go on and on and on. Every quarterback needs a team, needs players around them. This is not like a situation where you can say, okay, I'm going to win. I'm going to play 1-on-11. No, it's 11 guys, my 11 versus your 11. It's just the real reality of it. I hate when people use that notion of saying that, okay, Dak Prescott needs a team around him in order to win. We'll see what old Pat Mahomes going to do now without Tyreek Hill. I can only imagine what Pat Mahomes would do without a Travis Kelce, without a Kareem Hunt. We saw how his play went away a little bit when Kareem Hunt was gone. So, I mean, you need people around you to help you out. That's the name of the game. It's a team game. One of the best team games you can ever find out there. All right, so we're going to switch over to, let's go back to this stat report. Let's look at this thing right here. This is Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott. And this is their first. Let me make sure. So Russell, I guess they both got 48 games on the docket here. Is that 207 yards by Russell Wilson? Is 207 yards more or less than 226? This is on a per game basis, right? And this is, of course, Russell's first 3 years as well as Dak Prescott, as we can show you guys right here. Same games played, 48 games. Within the 48 games, completion percentage same, 66.1. Russell, 63. And that's a little upper edge for Dak Prescott. All right, so we start looking at the yards. Upper edge, Dak Prescott. We start to look at the touchdowns. Upper edge, Russell, which is cool. Russell throws more touchdowns and more completion percentage. 98 opposed to 96. Same amount of interceptions almost. Russell just threw one more interception. And then if you start looking at 11 plus 18, I think 18 is more than 11. So that number, if you was to move this over to the touchdown ratio, it's still in the same wheelhouse. Same amount of times being sacked, 119 opposed to 113. So if we start talking about passing the ball down the field, the average time that the ball is in the air, 7.9 opposed to 7.4. You're talking about the same exact replicate of guys out there. Now, when you start looking at everything else, this is a team sport. Legion of Boom. I can start naming you. You can't name me one person that's in this secondary as of 2016, 17, 18 that's close to a Earl Thomas. You can't name me one person in this secondary that's close to a Cam Chancellor or close to a Richard Sherman. You can't name me those three. Name me three guys that's in the same arena. Now, as far as their front four, now I'm not trying to padding up anything. We're not even close to being on the level of the LOB. We're heading towards that direction. We're getting close to that thing. We having hopes and loves and praying that Xavier Woods can be in the same arena of Earl Thomas. We wishing that. We wish that whoever we drafted in this draft or George Iloka or Jeff Heath can one day become a camp chancellor. But that's blasphemous. I might as well start lying and kicking with you guys. We hope that Byron Jones can play to the level of a young Richard Sherman, or our linebacker cores can be on the same arena, and they knocking on the door, especially the Bobby Wagners and the KJ Wrights. We got Jalen Smith who's coming around the corner, and LVE. We have high hopes and praise and love and adulation that LVE will be that guy, but it takes time. Yes, D-Law been a guy for us. But man, during that time, Bennett, Big Maybane, guys that create pressure into the inside, Averils, boy, that Legion of Boom, you be only playing with half of a field. Yeah, Derek Savage, yeah, Darren Woodson should be in the Hall of Fame. Yes. He should, man. He should be in the Hall of Fame. It's a shame that he's not. It's a shame. But in a per game basis, you guys are seeing the similar results. And if you really want to look at it for the first 3 years, if you look at even the playoffs, you will see that these numbers are not scary or not that far apart from one another. Of course, the Legion of Boom made it to the playoffs, and they won some key games to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, and that's the name of the game. But this is, of course, 3 games compared to 8. You still have a 64.1 completion percentage, 794 yards, and 5 touchdowns, 95.7. You can't argue those numbers there. You can't. This is playoff numbers right here. So, I mean, if we look at everything collectively, Cowboy Nation, I think that the kid could get some money. $30 million a year. Yeah, it seems like it's a lot of money now, but 2 to 3 years from now, when he's still in the life of his contract, you say, man, boy, we got a good bargain with this guy. We did. We got a great bargain with Dak Prescott. Man, we only paying him 30. And they paying Jeff Goff 35 or 36, whatever his contract. They paying Pat Mahomes $42 million or something like that by the time Pat Mahomes' contract is over, or up to, being around that thing. Yeah, so with all that being said, Cowboy Nation, let's continue to grind, baby. Let's continue to take this thing one day at a time, one movement at a time, and get this thing going one way or another. Let me know of your thoughts. Let me know of your concerns of this team. Let me know if you guys feel like this is it's not a 10+ win team. Let me know if you're on the fence of saying that this team is only an 8-win team and they can only win 8 games. Let me know, and we will talk about this, and we can get into these conversations for the nation. And let me see if I can play one other. We'll see what they talking about on the. I think first thing first. Let me see if I got that parameters already built up in this thing. Russell is comparable to Aaron. Yeah. I mean, as far as his completion percentages and things like that, yeah, I can say that. We can all say that. We can all say that they are in the same wheelhouse, and they're winning that one Super Bowl. I think that if the coach would have just ran the rock in, it would have been one less Super Bowl of Tom Brady and 2 Super Bowls for Russell Wilson. But that's a story of a different day. Antoine Myers, very close numbers. Yeah. Appreciate you, Philly Cowboys 76. Appreciate you as well, Jesse. Thank you for tuning in to this thing. Cowboy Nation, all we got to do is continue to believe in this team. There's something about positive energy, too. There's something about it, something about thinking positively. Things can happen, moving things around. I think that this coaching staff, this will be the year that we really have everything clicking. I like the fact that I had to bring this up. Shout out to my guy, Jerry Reese. I think he put the link in the Discord. He was talking more so about the Michael Irvin on Kellen Moore. And I think he posted the link in the Discord. He was talking about the fact that Michael Irvin had his reservations on the Kellen Moore. And then after he spoken with Ezekiel, the main man, Elliott, and he said, no, this Kellen Moore, he's able to identify what we need out there on the field. He can see things live. And we already know that with the I would say this, with Scott Linehan, it seems to me that he holds a lot of grudges. Let me know if I'm wrong. He seems like he holds a lot of grudges. I recall when I want to say, Mari Cooper, he called out old coach there, and ever since then, it's like production's like decrease. So I'm thinking that, with Kellen Moore out there, maybe we'll see a new wrinkle. These players, they play the game. They know what's needed out there. They can sit back and say to themselves, man, hopefully, and I mean just that, with this new type of young philosophy, with this new energy, that this Kellen Moore can identify what's going on, and the players can also speak to Kellen Moore freely and say, okay, coach, we need to run this play what we ran last Thursday in practice. It worked, and it will work in this situation. And when it don't work, then they'll use something else. Yes, so I'm really thinking that Kellen Moore will be a great beneficial partner for the Dallas Cowboys this year as it relates to coaching philosophy and things like that. So let me see if I can pull this thing up. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the nation. Let me see if I can go and pull this up right here. Here we go. We're right there. And we're going to listen to Chris Carter for a quick second here. And we're going to go over that and discuss what they're talking about before we run up out of here. Really appreciate you guys. Let's go.
Has analyzed Dak for the first 3 years and realized year after year, but
let me see if it's about right there. Yes, indeed.
There's no greater year of development than between year 1 and year 2. But as a quarterback, there's so many aspects to the game that we begin to appreciate that these young quarterbacks, they're not going to get until they have seasons under the belt, until they have some playoff losses under their belt, until they go into cold weather environment, noisy environments, and are able to do that year after year after year. But we have some guys that are such instant success in throwing the football that we think everyone should be like that. Jared Goff, he gets Sean McVay. His career is off and running. But this is a process. Dallas has analyzed Dak for the first 3 years and realized for us to get another quarterback, we might get that process wrong. We have to go back into the draft because you know you can't get one in free agency, you can't get one for cheap. We have to go back into the draft and we're going to draft one in the first round? Well, we can't do that. That's a top pick. Or in the second round? Or do I try to do the Dak Prescott again and develop another quarterback? So I'm with Jerry. They do have their quarterback of the future, but it should come with a certain price. And I do believe, and we have to just still have a great deal of patience, even though we're in this great era of throwing quarterbacks. It takes time to be able to get it right. And Dak, now he's not going to be as good as he's going to be in 3 or 4 years. And I know it's hard for fans to be able to look at it that way because we have so many guys that can throw the ball and throw it well, especially in the NFC, Nick.
And I'm going to approach this from a slightly different angle than I have when we've had this discussion before because it's pretty much, I'm on the record that I wouldn't pay Dak yet. I would wait to see him do it another year. I would hold the franchise tag over his head. But the Cowboys are clearly not going to listen to me.
Yeah, you can't fight City.
Right. They're going to pay Dak. So
yeah, they're going to pay Dak Prescott. He said he can't fight City Hall. I agree with that statement there. Cowboy Nation, my thing is when you start talking about the salary and you start talking about the young quarterback, I seen somebody posted in there in the chat box, I think it was Jesse, he said Big Ben, Brady, Russell, they all won Super Bowls in their third year as a quarterback. Now, did they win it by themselves? Or was it, like I said before, is it a combination of coaching? Was it a combination of defense? Was it a combination of just the quarterback just being flat out? Is it all the quarterback, or is more so the fact that this is all rest on the coaching staff? Or is it more so like this? Is it more so that these guys were able to win Super Bowls just because of the quarterback alone? You know, it was nobody else on their team. It was all solely on their skill set. Let me know. Put that down in the comment box because I really want to know. I really want to know your thoughts on this because when we start looking at this thing as it relates to Dak Prescott, I mean, last year we changed out, 6 or 7 coachings on this staff. And then on top of that, during the middle of the year, we changed out the whole entire offensive line coach. We said, you know what, we're going to go with somebody else. We're going to roll with somebody else. And then you guys already know that people had their reservations with Scott Linehan during those times. I'm not trying to say this. I'm not trying to sound like a guy that's making excuses, but those teams that won Super Bowls, when you talk about within their third year, I don't think that they had the house of cards that we had. You know, it's not the same exact deck of cards, basically. Yes. Appreciate you, Chris, man. Thank you, man. I'm doing well. Let's go.
Here is, if you're a Cowboys fan, the argument for why this is a good decision. It's not just what Chris said, which is if you don't pay Dak, you got to go find somebody. And if I'm not mistaken, the last premium pick the Cowboys spent on a quarterback was Troy Aikman. I can't think of one in the last 30 years that we would consider a premium pick because they had Drew Bledsoe there, they had Quincy Carter, they had Tony Romo.
They took Steve Walsh in the supplemental draft and ultimately into trading him.
Right, the same year as Troy Aikman, right? So we're talking over 30 years ago is the last time they used a premium pick or picks on a quarterback, right? So when we were talking about these NBA playoff series, you said something interesting. You said, let's not overreact to game 1 or overreact to game 2. If you flipped the order, what would the reaction be? What would the feeling be? If we had these same 3 years from Dak Prescott, but year 2 was year 1, last year was year 2, and that extraordinary year 1 was the one we just saw.
Well, of course.
The 13-3 season.
Then it would be a different.
Then it would be a no-brainer.
As Nick would say, it would make sense.
It would make sense. It would be a no-brainer. The point that I'm making is, yes, it'd be a different arc, but all those games were played. All that he has that we have seen him do.
He says it all the time. No one had games on. No one had games to really look at. Defenses weren't fully prepared for
Which
him.
is why I think this would be an apocalyptically bad decision if what we didn't have in the most recent, when people had the most film, were those last.
Well, let me correct those guys on this type of situation right here, Cowboy Nation. When they say nobody had game tape on Dak Prescott, this is another thing that people fail to realize. Year 2, where was Dez Bryant? I want to ask you guys these questionings here. I mean, Dez Bryant was the only guy that was able to make plays happen in year 2, right? When you start talking about defensive plan, don't you think that they said, okay, we're going to roll coverage towards Dez Bryant's way? And then we're going to make sure that he's going to be the guy that's beat us on the outside. There was nobody to take the top off the defense. We didn't have a Tavon Austin. He wasn't on this team. So you was expecting that Terrence Williams and Dez Bryant is going to be the guys that's going to be the focal point of this team. And then there was all this thing is on the field, off again, on the field, off again, with the Roger Goodells with the Ezekiel Elliott situation. Look at Ezekiel Elliott now. He's jovial. He's everywhere. He's a popular kid now without all of the, hey, I'm going to court this week and I might get suspended next week, and then on top of that, we might do this week. No, the guy got a clear conscience and a clear mind. I can say this right now, and I probably go to my grave. We can win at least one more game in 2017 if Ezekiel Elliott played all 6 of those games that he was suspended. Can you guys at least spare me that, right? So I'm with the belief that of course the strength of schedule would have been a little bit harder because 2016 we had an easy schedule. We had one of the last place schedule basically. So the strength of schedule would have been a little bit harder, but at least we would have won one more game. So instead of 9-7, we might have been 10-6. And then if you look at last year, what were we doing with the wide receiving core? Musical chairs. At the start of the year, we had Deontay Thompson, we had Allen Hurns, we had Cole Beasley. Those were our starting lineup for the wide receiver core. Dak Prescott didn't even play a full preseason game. Michael Gallup was still trying to figure out if he's going to play inside or out. It took them a miracle to say, you know what? Let's stop being stubborn. Let's go out there and get a wide receiver. We was playing also musical chairs with the tight end at the same time. Swain one week, Jarwin the other week. Maybe Schultz can come around. Hell, Schultz wasn't even on the active 46-man roster until I think the 4th week or something like that. When they said, you know what, let's just go ahead and put the young kid in now. Maybe he can start picking up this offense and find out where to block it and these sort of things. So it was a growth process. And I just mentioned to you guys earlier that we changed out 6 of the coaching staff that was on his team in the beginning of last year. New philosophy here and there, and we expecting to say, okay, we're going to win 13 games. It don't work that way in the National Football League. I was talking about consistency. Look, we praise the fact that Chris Richard is into the system, and this is his first year into the system last year, and we did a great job on the defensive side of the ball. Can you imagine the second year? Hey, it's crazy. Let's listen to more what he got to say.
Last 8 games. Those last 8 games where he looked the most like his rookie year he had looked, where he did win a playoff game, where after not being able to throw for 230 yards at any point during the year, he was regularly around 270.